At its peak, the restaurant chain Planet Hollywood had over 60 locations around the world. Today, there's 3. What happened to that orbit? Table for 2? Have a seat. Your podcast will be with you shortly. I'm Larry Fedoruk, and this is Later That Same Life. On each episode of my weekly podcast, a different topic, discussion, commentary, or story from our lives.
Season 19, Chapter 11.
Planet Hollywood.
For the record, Planet Hollywood was never an actual planet. We have 8 planets in our solar system. Hollywood is not one of them. The planets are Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. Pluto was a planet, but was demoted around 2006, shortly after Planet Hollywood was waning in popularity. Coincidence? I wonder. Pluto's downgrade ruined the sentence we kids used to use to remember the planet names. Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. MVEMJSUNP. My very educated mother just served us 9 pizzas. But now, no Pluto, no pizzas. So what to do? My very educated mother just served us nachos, noodles, nuggets, nuts, nothing. Anyway, notice that we're back to food, which brings us back to Planet Hollywood restaurants. See how this all ties together?
Then the planet turns Hollywood with all the stars you could ever imagine. Yes! Join hosts Arnold, Bruce, to me and Sly when Planet Hollywood comes home. Saturday, all the stars come together.
Planet Hollywood was a movie and movie star themed restaurant chain that first opened in New York in October of 1991. Planet Hollywood was not founded by Arnold Schwarzenegger, nor Sylvester Stallone, Bruce Willis, or Demi Moore. The founder was actually a businessman, Robert Earl, who already had a history of opening themed-style restaurants. Schwarzenegger, Stallone, along with Willis and Moore, who were a Hollywood power couple at the time, were in fact early investors, but it's unclear how much cash they actually invested. It is thought that more likely they were paid in stock and stock options for their endorsements and appearances promoting the chain. They would also use their connections and influence to help gather the Hollywood memorabilia, which was the main draw for the restaurant. Later celebrity endorsers/investors included Whoopi Goldberg, Roseanne Barr and Tom Arnold, Jean-Claude Van Damme, Don Johnson and Melanie Griffith, Cindy Crawford, Wesley Snipes, and Danny Glover. No offense, but wow, that Planet Hollywood sure went to the B-list pretty fast. Note that the real founder, Robert Earl, was also connected to the Hard Rock Cafe. Now, it's not the same company, but they are often spoken of in parallel to Planet Hollywood. One was music, the other was movies. And of course, you're not actually going there to have lunch with Arnold Schwarzenegger or, Bruce Springsteen. You're instead eating in the presence of Bruce Willis's Die Hard t-shirt or one of Jimi Hendrix's guitars. But hey, it's a tough business, right? So anything to get you in the door. Interesting to me that of these 2 places, the founding of the Hard Rock Cafe was somewhat more organic than a financier boardroom idea of a Planet Hollywood. Cool history. The very first Hard Rock Cafe was opened in 1971 in the Hyde Park area of London, England, by 2 Americans. It was initially successful because of its eclectic decor, and it was frequented by many from the London music scene. There wasn't any memorabilia. It wasn't until 1979 that Eric Clapton sent over one of his guitars and requested that they hung it over his favorite seat in the house to mark his spot. Within weeks, Pete Townsend sent over one of his guitars with a note saying, "Mine is as good as his." The memorabilia part of hard rock actually began as a friendly rivalry among rock stars. Today, their memento collection is well over 87,000 items. Noteworthy also that the second ever location of the Hard Rock Cafe was opened in Toronto in 1978. It remained at Yonge and Dundas for almost 40 years. Closed in 2017, it's now a Shoppers Drug Mart. Gee, if any hookers also work that corner, you could say that location is sex and drugs and rock and roll. Sex and drugs and rock and roll. Anyway, there are rumors that a new Hard Rock Cafe in Toronto is in the works. And rock trivia fans know that side 1 of the 1970 Doors album Morrison Hotel is called Hard Rock Cafe. If you don't know what side 1 means, look it up. An image of an LA club of that name is pictured on the back of the album. That place is now closed. 1977, Carole King wrote a song called Hard Rock Cafe, saying she was partially inspired by that Los Angeles bar. And those original founders of the chain said it was that same bar that helped them name their first place in London. By the 1980s, Hard Rock Cafe began expanding worldwide and is now a huge corporate entity, as is rock and roll itself. In all the expansion, the corporate takeovers, the mergers, the deals, as mentioned, Robert Earl was involved in both chains, Hard Rock and Planet Hollywood. Earl and his partners owned almost 60% of the Planet Hollywood chain, another corporate entity almost 25%. The rest, about 15%, divided among all of those celebrities that I mentioned. By 1996, they went public with an IPO on the New York Stock Exchange. The initial share price was $18, went as high as $32 on that first trading day. By 1999, only 3 years later, shares were down to below $1. Planet Hollywood has declared bankruptcy at least twice. It's gone through various ownership groups and associations. They keep the brand alive now through 3 locations: New York Times Square, Las Vegas, and one that is part of the Disney complex in Orlando. It's not known how much the celebrities lost in this venture. We do know that Stallone sued his financial advisor over this debacle. When Stallone finally sold all of his shares after the Planet's second bankruptcy, they were worth less than 10 cents apiece. Stallone got about $250,000 back from a multi-million-dollar investment. I don't mean to laugh. I just don't like Stallone lately, so I laugh. As far as all the others, like I said, we don't know. Who cares if Schwarzenegger lost millions? I'll just make another movie. Why did Planet Hollywood tank? Well, according to experts, it was unsustainable rapid expansion, and that's just ego. Hey, we think we have a good thing going here. Why don't we try and get one everywhere? That costs a lot of money. You've got to secure a location, renovation, infrastructure, staff. You've got to get the Forrest Gump memorabilia. It's a lot of money going out and not much coming in. And the money wasn't coming in. The 2 other reasons for the failure. The novelty appeal wore off pretty quickly. And the food wasn't that great. I remember one time they released this Planet Hollywood cookbook. It showed how you could make some of their signature dishes at home. I tried making the chicken strips at home with a coating of cornflakes crumbs and crushed Captain Crunch cereal. True, wasn't bad. But why release a cookbook? Why sell Big Mac sauce at the grocery store or Chick-fil-A biscuits? Doesn't that just weaken your brand? Anyway, their food, not that great overall. Let's face it, there's decor and atmosphere, service, but at some point, consumers realize that they're dealing with generally the same kind of appetizers, beers, burgers, club sandwiches, and pasta offerings as the next place. Then you got to look at price. Is all this worth it? Just to have a snack next to Indiana Jones's bullwhip? Hey, look, that's me standing next to the axe that Jack Nicholson used in The Shining. Oh, cool. But how was the food? Planet Hollywood was imploding. And restaurants fall by the wayside all the time. Actually, they are considered the most volatile, high-risk business to be in. They have one of the highest failure rates in modern commerce. Very thin profit margins. They're at the whim of fluctuating food prices, consumer tastes flip on a dime, and there's always intense competition. You got your dining rooms, steakhouses, restaurants, cafes, diners, coffee shops, snack bars, pubs, taverns, grills, lunchrooms, cafeterias, and the ever-popular eateries. Eatery, that's the laziest choice ever for a name. I really don't know if we're a restaurant or a cafe. I mean, we have a grill, but let's just go with eatery. We're a food consumery. The low-cost outlets, the so-called fast food places, they seem to be okay. McDonald's, Burger King, KFC, been around for a long time. Not to mention a long list of pizza joints. The high-end places, well, they seem to find a clientele, and many manage to maintain for years and years. Everybody else in between, pardon the expression, it's a crapshoot. It's really why there's so many corporate chains out there all the time. At least they have some financial backing to try and make a go of it for a while. But corporate chains also fail. There's a long list. Who remembers Chi-Chi's? Free chips and salsa, giant margaritas, and not too spicy American-style Mexican food. There was the affordable family steakhouse Ponderosa, named after the ranch on the TV show Bonanza. And there was also a Bonanza. It was a competing affordable family steakhouse. And eventually the two of them merged before finally riding off into the sunset. Remember those Ponderosa locations were kind of an old Western town-style building? I remember after their demise, many of them in Canada were taken over by the quickly expanding Mother's Pizza. And that was odd. They had this Western-style building where you went to get Italian. Mother's Pizza. And not only that, they inexplicably hired Dennis Weaver, an actor famous for being in Westerns, as their celebrity spokesperson. He even wore a cowboy hat.
I'd like to show you something new. Mother's Baked Personal Panzerotti Deluxe. Baked, not fried, with a variety of generous fillings and all the flavors sealed inside. They are tasty. And I'm here to tell you they make a good meal. Or you can enjoy them anytime. So if you're serious about Panzerotti, try Mother's. Mother's pizza pasta made perfect.
Is this genuine Italian? Darn tootin'. Mother's and Dennis Weaver have long since gone to pizza heaven.
Collect a 1920s-style soda fountain glass at Mother's while supplies last.
There's no more Howard Johnson's, at least the restaurants. Hojo's. I'd like to order Howard's Johnson on a bun. Oh yeah, we were pretty hilarious. Kenny Rogers Roasters? Gone.
What is that, Rico?
Yeah, it's the wood that makes it good.
The Gambler lost a lot of money. Probably should have called Stallone before investing. Oddly, there are no Kenny Rogers Roasters left in America. They declared bankruptcy. But they have over 200 locations in Asia. They're popular in places like the Philippines and Singapore. Lone Star Steakhouse and Saloon? Gone. As is the steak and ale chain. Arthur Treacher's Fish and Chips. Mostly vanished. Almost entirely underwater. Red Barn. Out to pasture. There's no more Country Kitchen, Frank Vitteri's, Marche Movenpicks, or Lick's Hamburgers. No more Mother Tucker's, or their rebranded Last Gasp, Tucker's Marketplace. One of the more interesting stories of a food chain gone missing is Fuddruckers. Remember Fuddruckers? Founded in 1979, it was meant to be a slightly higher-end experience than McDonald's, with a better burger, but still affordable. The first location opened in San Antonio, Texas. It was actually founded by a New Yorker named Phil Romano. The burgers were good, the restaurant was cool, name recognition was easy. I mean, Fuddruckers, come on, let's all go to Fuddruckers. That's just fun to say. About as fast as you could order the cheeseburger and fries, Fuddruckers had locations all over Texas. Within a few years, they had 200 locations across North America and the world. So Phil Romano cashed out. He sold to one of those big conglomerates, who sold it to another, who in turn sold it again. The 2008 financial crisis hit a lot of businesses pretty hard, including restaurants and Fuddruckers. So they downsized, closed a bunch of locations, played around with the format, but finally had to declare bankruptcy. The end, right? Well, last minute, a company called Luby's picked it up for about $61 million. They also downsized, closed a few locations, played with the format. They were keeping it alive. Then, COVID happened. No one is going out anywhere for anything. Once again, bankruptcy. The end of Fuddruckers looming once more. But enter Nicholas Perkins. No relations to Perkins Restaurants. He's one of the few African-American restaurant entrepreneurs, and he loved Fuddruckers when he was a kid, coming home from baseball practice. He thought it might be worth saving. He picked it up for $19 million. This is a big bargain. He has since got the location count back up to 55, mostly U.S., although there is one in Saskatoon and another in Regina. It looks like Fuddruckers bucked the trend, somehow survived where many others could not. Fuddruckers now also shares competition from the so-called higher-end burger places, Shake Shack, Five Guys, Burgers Priest, as well as sharing the market with the pub joints like Kelsey's, the Firkin Pubs, Jack Astor's, Dave & Buster's, even Boston Pizza. Of course, all those chicken wing places. Well, there's even a few Hooters still around. How is there a Hooters in this modern world? What are some others? Well, we seem to be almost losing Olive Garden and Red Lobster, but then somehow they hang in there, as are Swiss Chalet, Denny's, Perkins, IHOP, and the Waffle House. There's Chipotle's, Chili's, Golden Corral, Bob Evans, and even that nightmare that is Chuck E. Cheese. Still around, all trying not to go the way of the Ponderosa. The other anomaly to me, at least in Canada, is the Keg. Founded in North Vancouver in 1971, it's Canada-wide and still a place to go. You can barely get in on a Saturday night. And you add to this all those little neighborhood eateries and takeout places. And you know, with Uber Eats, DoorDash, Skip the Dishes, well, that too has changed the face of dining and dining establishments. Because now you can get almost anybody's food delivered right to your door. You can have the restaurant dining without having to, take a shower, put on a clean shirt, and go out. Speaking of which, actually, when you do go out to some of these places, don't you find people take the casual dining a little too literally? I wish more people would actually shower and put on a clean shirt. I also thought it'd be funny that if you ordered food and a guy shows up at your door with a pair of jeans, and you go, "What's this? I ordered spaghetti." And he's like, "Oh, you should have called DoorDash. You must have called Jordash by mistake." Oh, damn Siri. Never understands what I'm saying. So, Planet Hollywood. Just a memory from the 90s, like Seinfeld. Except Planet Hollywood isn't in reruns. Hard Rock Cafe, by the way, again, not affiliated, just often thought of at the same time. They have over 170 locations worldwide. And as I said, an extensive collection of rock souvenirs. As far as all that memorabilia that was in those former Planet Hollywood locations, well, for a while it was all in storage. In 2024, Heritage Auctions held a Planet Hollywood event where they sold much of that stuff to private collectors, as did a previous auction in 2018. And the money raised went back into company holdings. I don't live anywhere near those 3 remaining locations, Planet Hollywood, so it is just a memory for me. I guess I can still make those Cap'n Crunch chicken strips anytime I want. And I do have that picture of me standing next to a small model of the Jupiter 2 spaceship from the Lost in Space movie that also starred Matt LeBlanc, Joey from Friends. Yeah, that's the kind of stuff they had in there. Yet somehow they failed.
Later That Same Life is written, voiced, and produced by Larry Fedoruk. LarryFedoruk37@gmail.com. Subscribe to Larry's podcast YouTube channel. Get automatic notifications with each new episode.
7, 7, 7.